one step closer to Caitlin Clark being traded or Stephanie White being fired. Open your eyes. And the best thing that happened was this team had a damn meltdown.
The Indiana Fever entered the June 6th Commissioner's Cup matchup against the New York Liberty at Barclays Center carrying genuine momentum. They had won the previous year's edition of the tournament, and through 10 games of the 2026 season, they sat at 5-5. Competitive, but inconsistent in ways that had already drawn scrutiny. What unfolded that Saturday night confirmed nearly every concern that had been building around this team. Indiana controlled large portions of the game. They turned a 3-point halftime lead into a 12-point advantage with just over 3 minutes remaining in the third quarter. The team was executing, the lead was substantial, and a statement win over the defending Liberty squad appeared within reach. Then the game unraveled. ESPN New York mounted a comeback, with the Liberty scoring the final 10 points of the third quarter. From that point forward, Indiana never fully regained control. The collapse was not a matter of one bad possession or a single defensive breakdown. It was cumulative, and it exposed structural problems that had been visible in pieces throughout the season's first month. CBS Sports' Breanna Stewart made 18 of 21 free throws and finished with 30 points. The Liberty trailed by double digits in the second half, fell behind 66-62 midway through the fourth quarter, and then went on a 19-4 run to take the lead. Stewart made 11 of 12 free throws during that run alone. The free throw disparity tells a significant part of the story. The Liberty had 23 free throw attempts in the fourth quarter alone. The Fever had 2. CBS Sports for fans who have watched this team closely, that number registers as more than a statistical anomaly. It represents a pattern. The Fever consistently lose their composure and their ability to generate contact in crunch time, ceding the most decisive stretches of games to opponents who attack the paint with far greater purpose. The final score was 83-75. The loss dropped Indiana to 5-5 on the season. Just Women's Sports The Performance drew immediate criticism across the fan base, and the reasons were not difficult to identify. Viewer frustration centered on 2 overlapping failures: the offense's inability to find its best player in critical moments, and the execution breakdowns from players entrusted to carry the load when the pressure increased. Kelsey Mitchell scored 21 points but was inefficient throughout, finishing 7 of 21 from the floor. Mitchell missed 5 layups on the night and shot 2 of 8 from 3-point range. The box score figure of 21 points has a way of obscuring the quality of the performance. A 7 of 21 shooting line means that for every remade basket, 2 attempts went unconverted. In a game Indiana lost by 8 points, those missed opportunities carried direct consequence. Yahoo Sports' CBS Sports' Aliyah Boston finished with 13 points on 6 of 15 shooting. The numbers alone would be disappointing for a player of Boston's caliber. The circumstances made them harder to dismiss. Boston left the third quarter with a lower right leg injury and was initially listed as questionable to return. She did return, and the results were visible on tape. Boston missed 7 consecutive shots in the fourth quarter, including 4 layups. Her struggles in the paint contributed to the Fever's collapse after they had held a lead of as many as 12 points. CBS Sports +3, the commentary around Boston's performance, has been careful to acknowledge the injury context. Analyst Tony East addressed the situation directly in his post-game coverage, saying that while injury clearly hampered her performance, Boston is not exempt from accountability for her struggles near the rim. She struggled with some finishes in this game, East said. Boston is not off the hook for those struggles. Yahoo Sports that tension between legitimate physical circumstance and the obligation to execute defines much of what makes the Fever so difficult to evaluate at this stage of the season. The problems are real, but so are the mitigating factors. Head coach Stephanie White cited the team's 11 missed layups as one of the primary reasons for the defeat. 11 missed layups in a game decided by 8 points is not a margin question. It is a conversion problem, and it falls squarely on the individuals at the rim. Athlon Sports, the fanbase's frustration, expressed directly in the comment section following coverage of this game, was pointed and consistent. Viewers noted that Aliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell were missing layups at a volume that went beyond a single bad night. Comments calling out missed finishes around the basket appeared repeatedly, echoing what the box score and the tape both confirmed: that the Fever left points on the floor at moments when they needed to convert. The other dimension of viewer frustration was directed at the offense's failure to involve Caitlin Clark effectively in the game's most important sequences. The complaint is not new, but it was reinforced by what happened on June 6th. Clark finished with 10 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists on 4 of 14 shooting. Her shooting struggles were notable. She missed her first 5 attempts before finding her rhythm. But the more consequential development was what happened in the second half. Clark committed her fifth foul with 6 minutes and 26 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. With Indiana holding a 3-point lead, she was forced to the bench. The Liberty proceeded to take over the game from that point, erasing Indiana's advantage entirely. Pro Football Network Just Women's Sports, the foul trouble issue has become a season-long concern. The Liberty loss marked the fourth consecutive game in which Clark committed at least 4 fouls. The frequency of the pattern has drawn analysis from multiple angles: defensive positioning, matchup assignments, individual decision-making. Athlon Sports Clark addressed the foul trouble directly after the game, taking accountability for calls she could have avoided. She acknowledged a larger defensive role this season. "I'm probably guarding a lot more on ball than I have in the past few years as well. Just put into more action. I'm doing my best keeping my hands out. But there were a couple fouls that were just dumb tonight, and that's on me." Athlon Sports The Candor is notable. Clark did not deflect. She identified her own mistakes and named them plainly. That kind of accountability, however, also makes the surrounding support structure more visible by contrast. Coach Stephanie White addressed the defensive breakdowns that contributed to Clark's foul situation, saying, "We didn't help her out, we didn't plug the gaps. Some of those are rotation-based, but some of them our team defensive positioning has to be better. And that can take some pressure off C. Clark if we're in the right spots." Athlon Sports Yahoo Sports White's statement is a direct acknowledgement that the team's defensive configuration is putting Clark in position to foul, that it is not solely a matter of her individual decision-making. Opponents have exploited her on-ball assignments repeatedly, and the defensive rotations behind her have not consistently bailed her out. The offense, too, has failed to reduce the pressure on Clark by creating easier baskets for her through movement and screening. Coming into 2026, having more ball handlers was listed as a priority for Indiana, with the explicit intent of playing Clark off the ball more frequently than in prior seasons, reducing the wear and tear from opponents pressing her 94 feet. The design of the offense was meant to take pressure off Clark by generating opportunities through others initiating. The execution, through the first 10 games, has not consistently reflected that design, particularly in the fourth quarter, when the offense has repeatedly stagnated. ESPN The sideline exchange between Clark and White has received sustained attention in the weeks surrounding this game. During a timeout in Indiana's loss to the Portland Fire on June 1st, Clark and White had a heated exchange on the bench. Video of the moment spread rapidly, with portions of the fan base interpreting it as evidence of a deteriorating relationship between the player and the coaching staff. Clark subsequently responded publicly, and both parties framed the exchange in competitive terms rather than personal conflict. The Fever held a team meeting the following Monday, and went on to beat the Atlanta Dream in their next game. Athlon Sports ESPN that result, a team meeting, followed by a win, represents one version of how this story could develop. The other version is visible in what happened against New York 5 days later. A lead surrendered, a star player fouled out in the closing minutes, 11 missed layups, and a loss that extended Indiana's pattern of failing to close out competitive games. CBS Sports noted, a month into the season, that White was still discussing the process of reintegrating Boston, Mitchell, and Clark together, despite the three having extensive experience playing alongside each other. The outlet also noted how disjointed the team looks on both ends of the floor in crunch time, calling the Fever's offensive struggles in late-game situations a legitimate concern. CBS Sports The reintegration language is worth examining. This is a team that played together through a significant portion of the 2025 season and made a deep playoff run. The notion that their offensive chemistry requires active reintegration heading into June of 2026 raises questions about either the personnel configuration, the system design, or both. Viewers watching the Liberty game would have seen a team that, at 66-62 with the game still in reach, could not generate a coherent offensive possession to extend its lead. Not because New York's defense was impenetrable, but because Indiana's execution broke down under pressure. The free throw disparity compounded the problem. The Liberty attempted 41 free throws in the game compared to Indiana's 15. The Liberty's deliberate approach of attacking the paint and drawing contact in the second half was not something the Fever were able to counter. Once the Liberty got on a run, Indiana had no answers to stop it. Yahoo Sports CBS Sports for a team that entered the season with genuine championship expectations, with 3 players who have received All-WNBA consideration, a 2-time All-Star in Clark, and a head coach who steered them to the semifinals in a depleted 2025 campaign. The current state is difficult to characterize as a minor adjustment period. There are legitimate questions to be asked about whether the front-court additions made in free agency are the right fit for White's system. It is also noteworthy how disjointed this team looks on offense and defense, especially in crunch time. CBS Sports that assessment comes from a credentialed outlet with direct access to the team, not from online speculation. It tracks with what viewers have been saying in comment sections for weeks, that Clark is not getting the ball through designed play when it matters most, that the big men are missing shots they should make, and that the team's inability to generate contact and get to the line is costing them games that are otherwise competitive. The pattern of close losses is itself a data point. After an earlier Liberty game this season, Clark noted that Indiana had been within 2 possessions of 4-0. "We're kind of waiting for that 4 quarters of really good basketball. That's what's going to have to happen if we want to beat the really good teams in this league," she said. That statement was made weeks before the June 6th loss. The problem she identified then, the inability to sustain a high level across a full game, was on full display at Barclays Center. Sports Illustrated, what was lost in the collapse against New York was not just 2 points in the standings. It was an opportunity to establish credibility as a team capable of defeating a top-tier opponent on the road, in a tournament setting, while playing from a position of genuine advantage. Indiana had the game. They had the lead, they had the minutes, and they had the personnel on the floor to close it out. They did not. White's own post-game tally of 11 missed layup signals that the coaching staff is fully aware that execution at the rim, not play design, not defensive scheme, was the deciding variable. The Fever had clear looks. They did not convert them. Sports Illustrated Monique Billings provided a consistent performance off the bench, scoring 15 points and grabbing 8 rebounds in one of the team's more dependable individual contributions on the night. It was a bright spot in an otherwise difficult evening, and it points to one element the team does have available: depth that can produce. Whether the starting unit can translate the talent on its roster into consistent fourth-quarter execution is the question that will define this season. Just Women's Sports, the 2026 Indiana Fever still have 3 all-WNBA caliber players, a generational talent in Clark, a proven head coach, and a documented ability to fight through adversity. The story of their season is not finished, but the margin for unforced errors is narrowing with every missed layup and every fourth quarter surrendered. CBS Sports, the viewers who watched this game and left frustrated, were not reacting to a bad loss. They were reacting to a specific and recognizable failure. The failure to use the best player on the floor when the game was on the line, and the failure of the players entrusted to carry the load to make the shots that were there. Both failures happened, both are documented, and both will need to be resolved if this team intends to be taken seriously when October arrives.